As of December 2022, 4,237 companies globally and 107 Indian companies have signed up for science-based targets, which helps corporations set and meet emissions reduction targets from their operations. In this session, the panelists will share the realized benefits in their respective organizations after the adoption of data-driven techniques for energy management. They will further elaborate on how their energy strategy dovetails with ESG compliance and broader climate goals whilst delivering financial savings. The session will be chaired by Dr. Saket Saraf, Principal, PS Collective. Dr. Saraf is passionate about empirically driven approaches to sustainable development and the built environment. His current work focuses on policy analysis, modeling, and decision support systems. Dr. Saraf is also actively affiliated with academia and has worked as a guest scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in the US. Sir, welcome. We are also joined by Mr. Muthukrishnan, Airport Sector Head of Environment, Health and Safety and Sustainability, GMR Group. Sir. Dr. Muthukrishnan has more than 17 years of experience in EHS and sustainability management. He's a chemical engineer with a doctorate in the stream of separation technology. He is member at large of the ACI World Environment Standing Committee and past chair of the Airport Council International Asia Pacific Environment Committee. He is also a member of the CII Green Building Council India and the Aeronautical Society of India. He has developed an international training program on leadership in energy and environment design and operation of airport infrastructure for ICAO and acts as a subject matter expert for environment protection and sustainability development for GMR airports. Sir, a pleasure to have you. Thank you. Also with us, Mr. Rohit Chashta, Deputy General Manager, Energy Efficiency and Sustainability at Schneider Electric. Rohit. Rohit is a CMVP and ISO 50001 lead auditor and a lead green associate. He leads sustainability and thought leadership engagements at Schneider and has co-authored numerous articles about energy efficiency and sustainability. Welcome, Rohit. And last but not the least, Ms. Umith Bhatia, Director, Sustainability Strategy, West Asia Energy and Sustainability Services at GLL. Ma'am. At GLL, Umith is responsible for defining or redefining environment, social and governance, ESG, in strategy in line with the client's vision and ambition. Prior to joining GLL, she has worked with the NatWest Group and has pioneered the setting up of the occupational health and safety vertical for the Asia region. She also has a strong foundational experience in statutory and regulatory compliance management, enterprise-wide risk management, automation, credit assessment, amongst others. Thank you very much, Umith. Saket, over to you.
So, welcome to a post-lunch session. I hope all of you are awake. We just had an informal chat amongst us before this session, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from people who walk the talk on data and climate goals, right? And we saw a great presentation by Airport Authority, and very happy to see, coming that from a public sector organization to show that change is happening everywhere. So thank you for that wonderful presentation. So in this session, what we are going to talk about is the role of data and enterprise level energy management systems, and how can they actually help us to walk the talk. How can we use data-driven understanding to set climate goals, to see how much benefits are we actually realizing. Setting goals is one thing, but how much of the benefits is actually landing on your table, right? How can we leverage data for compliance, be it ESG compliance or any other compliance that you're looking for, and also to make business sense at the end of the day, right? So both the goals of sustainability and the business and legal and compliance issues. So we are going to hear from people in the industry who do this day in, day out, and learn from their experience, on how we can leverage data and enterprise level management systems to meet some of these goals. So the session may be a little bit more technical on the data side, but we'll try to keep it as conversational and simple as possible. So I would straight away jump to some common questions which helps to set the kind of larger context. Okay. So the first question that I would want to pose is, how can we leverage data and enterprise level management systems to set climate goals? Rather than just saying we will do everything in the world, how can we use our own enterprise level data to set meaningful climate goals, monitor them, okay? And what kind of data infrastructure, EMS infrastructure, have you guys used in your organization or for your clients, okay? And what kind of narratives have you built that allows you to sell that to your board or to your clients, right? So we'll start with Amit and then go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. So data, I think, Saket, is paramount, and not just data, I would say qualitative data. Gone are the days when we used to use Excel sheets to have all the data. ESG compliance-related data is very complex. There are scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions that we need to track, and when we're doing that, Excel sheets are prone to error, and there is no integration that can happen with that. At best, you can use a SharePoint, that's about it. So digitalization, automation, and then streamlining an integrated platform, a usage of integrated platform, especially to manage the energy performances, is something which is key. And hence, data, I think, is paramount here.
How do you convince your clients or your board to take that next step?
Well, there is a challenge with some clients, in terms of convincing them, influencing them, making them understand the importance of qualitative data, and it is not easy to use Excel sheets to do that. Others are quite aware, and they understand what is the need, and they have already evaluated, like I would like to say, the various tools that are prevalent in the market, which help in tracking, reporting, and measuring the data. So like we say, you can't manage what you can't measure. If that is the case, then you need to have a tool which integrates with your internal systems, talks to your internal, whether it's BMS or any other tool that you have installed, deployed within your organization. The tool needs to talk to all those systems, collect data automatically instead of somebody sitting there and manually feeding data into it. And that is which I think sells well with them. They eventually do understand, even clients who initially pose a restriction, they also eventually do understand this aspect.
Thanks. To just give you a little bit context, Amit represents JLL, which manages a huge portfolio of facilities around the globe, right? So that is the perspective she's coming from. Rohit, as someone from Schneider who's in the business of selling energy management systems, right? What pitches help the client? So how do you pitch this, that you need to have a really good EMS and have a good quality data to meet your climate goals?
No.
And has this pitch changed over time? Like, do you see an evolution or a more willingness from the client side to adopt these?
Thank you, Saket, and good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So I think, yeah, you said very rightly in terms of how this energy or even sustainability and ESG are very ever-evolving topics and subjects. So like what worked 10 years, 15 years back may not be the case today in that sense. So first, in terms of when you're pitching it to anyone, in that sense, it's very important that you tie it to the right metric that is important for them. You can tell them that it will help you in X percentage of energy efficiency improvement, X percentage improvement in productivity, or even in the sort of reduction in downtime. All these things you can pitch to them. But if I'm talking about, let's say I'm talking to a board of investors of an organization, it's important that I put the metric, let's say if it's a commercial building, it's important that I visualize, let's say, an energy cost per employee per month sort of a metric in front of them, that this is what the impact will be and this is how you will improve in this performance. For an industry, it can be production cost per unit of, or the energy cost per unit of production that they're doing. Even better, if you talk about, let's say, a board or an investor sort of a group, what will be an improved energy performance look like as an impact on their EBIT or EBITDA? That's something that will really excite the financial people there in that sense. Even better, doing a net present value NPV analysis of the energy efficiency or an energy management performance or project in that sense. So all these things, when presented in the right way, so data, as you say, data is everywhere. It's very important to make sense of it as well. So giving the right analytics, tying it to the right metric, this is something that really helps when you're pitching it to an organization and you are telling them to invest in this sort of solution or in this sort of service. So all these things really matter in that way. And maybe to your question of, maybe 10, 15 years back, this was not the case. Today, if you're talking to an investor, it's very important that you talk to them about how this is going to give them, or it will have an improved ROI, return on investment as well. So all these things are something which really needs to be involved in the conversation. Right analytics, right measurement, of course, but right analytics and tying it to the right KPI or right metric becomes very important when pitching for this sort of aspect.
Thanks, Rohit. Dr. Muthukrishnan, coming from a very specialized, Dr. Muthukrishnan represents GMR Airport. So coming from a very specialized facility where you are almost in control of the data, right? And I'm sure if you need it, you are able to collect it.
Yes.
Right, so one unique organization which has no dearth of data. So what are the unique data challenges that you face, having abundant data, and how do you use it to meet, say, the climate goals and the business goals together?
Okay. So the question is very broad. Maybe I will try to articulate it as a philosophy. See, when we took over airport, the airport was more qualitative data oriented. Okay. But we all know that when you want to measure performance, you need to monitor and measure certain things. So first, the qualitative factors to quantitative factors, one should move on. So that is the first challenge we had. So every data requires some kind of monitoring, some kind of transducer, some kind of transmitters, bringing this digital information into a kind of accessible information. So we need to first build on a kind of measurement device, then transmittive device, then a kind of analytical device or a software which will help us to see how the trend is going on, where are the data are getting accumulated, whether it has got an error or is it calibrated well. So all the challenges will come from qualitative to quantitative steps. So that is the stage one. Once you achieve the data which is more quantitative and you see that data is flowing, then you will realize yourself the trend. Okay, whether the trend per day, per month or per week or per year, you will get to know how is it behaving. So from the trend, you will establish yourself, you are efficient or is your performance is good. That is the second stage. The third stage is nothing but the realistic information and decision making. That is what now we are working on is, okay, maybe I can say it as a third stage company in terms of data usage as well as the data used driven systems. So for example, airport, we have, particularly on energy, we have many important areas of energy usage. I will start from access road to the terminal building, and then we call it as airside. Within terminal building, we have multiple electromechanical devices. It may be a HVAC system, escalator, travelators, lifts, and lightings. So all these are connected to building management system. Okay, that is one way of data control and data gathering or data managing opportunity for us. Second, whoever is working with the airport, we have given a prepaid data cards and with the telemetric information. So every usage of concessionaire or any other operator who is at airport, who is other than the GMR or the Delhi International Airport meter owner, So data we get receive. So those data directly goes into our online system, SAP system, and it is getting monitored every day. That is the high level of influence which we are doing it for the data gathering. And for managing the overall performance, we know every unit energy demand. We have a kind of budget for every unit. For example, HVAC system, this is the budget for you. Per month, per week, per day. It is all splitted. Because we all know the trend. If a passenger flows from January to December, we know the trend. And we also know the weather variations. We also know the various climatic factors in terms of sunrise and sunset. So all getting integrated, and you can able to establish yourself for tomorrow what will be your energy demand. Okay, so that kind of competency we have developed. So this is the fourth stage we are now working on it. That is called cost containment and cost management in terms of energy. We have a open access energy procurement option of renewable energy, as well as we have our own supply. We do have our solar system. So our team calculate our demand and establish that demand and give it back to our energy service provider. So with that we know how much we want, a kind of intimation given to energy provider. So energy provider makes sure that it is further communicated to the energy generator and it goes on to the grid. So this kind of advanced data-driven management practice we do at present. There are opportunities still, but we are exploring. So I can say that as such group or Delhi International Airport, I can say we are going towards the fourth stage of data management and its an opportunities.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
they're pretty much going very much into the detail and kind of trying to extract every bit of juice from the data. I'll come to more on how you use the data later on. So, it seems that now it's a done deal. Everybody is realizing the importance of data, that data can be used to drive improvement, performance, and meet climate goals. The important question then comes on how do we collect the data? So for, say, a medium or a large enterprise, you need to have some kind of a enterprise level data collection system, right? So Amit, my question to you is, you have clients which would have facilities with very diverse data infrastructure or understanding or goals, right? So from your experience, how easy or difficult is it to set up an enterprise level or recommend an enterprise level data collection management system? And do you have any recommendations to, say, people like Schneider who make such systems?
So JLL has its own proprietary tool called Canopy that helps in tracking, measuring, and reporting ESG compliance-related data. I know Schneider also has a similar tool, and there are various such tools in the market. So what at JLL we do is we constantly keep working with external partners in terms of understanding, even with Schneider for that matter, to understand what is the offering that they have in their tool. And then we take various options to our clients to explain them, this is what is available and this is our recommendation. And we leave it on the client to decide what is best suited for their environment in terms of data collection and analysis. Now, to your second question, the biggest challenge that comes from organizations is the information security aspect. Especially if it is a financial institute, then data security, information security related aspects is very important for them to address. And how is the data going to get integrated? Where is it going to flow? Is there some kind of inference that can be driven by any external party? And will there be a negative impact, a reputational damage, or financial impact to them? Is something which they're very cautious of. And having worked with a bank, a NatWest bank, a UK bank, there's GDPR policy as well that comes into play. And all these factors pose a big challenge, but then there are ways of tackling it. We come up with penetration testing for our tools, and that is how, those are, I would say, the preventive measures or the measures that the organizations typically opt for, because they can't live without such a tool. They have to have a tool, and if the information security is not allowing it, then there has to be some midway, some path in between where we need to connect and see how best we can protect their data security aspect as well, and also offer them a tool that helps them measure their ESG compliance.
Thanks, Amit. Rohit, when you sell a energy management system, as a client, say I am a small office of say 100 staff, can I get an off-the-shelf EIS, EMS system? And if I am an office of say 2,000 people, can I get off-the-shelf? Or every time you have to customize things, and what are the cost implications? And where is this EMS, EIS thing heading in terms of making it more democratic, more standardized, but at the same time meeting the diverse needs of different users?
So yeah, Saket, actually, that's really, I mean, that's the need of the hour. That's going to happen because. So one is to your first question. Yes, customization is very much the need of the hour. There are certain, because you can't fit the same template everywhere. So it's like if it is going to happen for, let's say, a small office of 100 people versus, let's say, 2,000. Of course, the whole variety of features of a particular management system from the energy side is going to be different. So there is that whole area of, like, to each one its own sort of thing which is going to happen. Second thing that I would say is, so here comes the whole piece of business model innovation. So this is the whole idea of let's say, if a small company of, let's say, 50 to 100 employees or a small office is going for the solution, can we just do it, let's say, in a software as a service mode, or pay as you use, or on a subscription model? And versus if suppose there is a larger company going for the same, then things can be different depending upon what is their requirement. Do they want a complete, like, end-to-end system to be procured at the same time, or they are willing to, give us, have us give them the insights on the same? Because you even see, so when it comes to new business models, software as a service and pay-as-you-use is something which is happening. We're also seeing data as a service, insights as a service. All these things are coming into picture where you can give all your data to me, and I'll just give you insights or the action points that you can take to improve your performance, and you just pay me for that. So these are the kind of models that are coming into picture. And second, or the third aspect actually to this is also having a package solution in certain cases. So for example, can I do, let's say, a monitoring analysis and certain low-cost measures attached to it, maybe automation or some sensors and controls along with it, give it as a complete package, and it can be an OPEX model, it can be a CAPEX model, but a package solution that can be like, kind of, I can give you an example here. We have recently started a venture last year. It's called Green Next, where we are providing energy as a service to our clients in a microgrid, using microgrid solutions which are packaged and which are standardized for various measures. And through that, a customer or a client can manage their supply as well as the demand side on both the aspects. So these are the kind of things that are going to come into picture: business model innovation, package solutions, and of course it will vary from, for a smaller one it can be a different case, for a bigger organization, for a larger organization it will definitely be, but even we are seeing for larger organization that they're preferring OPEX model in a lot of cases because that reduces the burden of CAPEX or an upfront high cost in that case. So that is the main thing that's is happening or going to happen.
So do you see a future where I can order a EIS, EMS on Amazon and Flipkart, and just because I can't afford Schneider's services, right? So do you see a future where we can head to that level of standardization?
So there are two things which are happening here. To your first question, yes, that's very much possible. It has already started happening with home automation. I would give that as an update to you. So yes, like even again, if I just give my example, but you'll also find some other tools and technologies in that case as well. But you can purchase a home automation system now through e-commerce websites, whether it's Amazon or any other e-commerce portal. And so it has started from that level. It's already happening. So to your question of how much it will grow, yes, for medium-sized, smaller-sized offices, it will grow to a larger extent because a lot of standardization can be achieved. Of course, when it comes to larger offices or industries, then there's a lot of variables that come into picture. So it may not be a very standardized model in that case, but for homes, small offices, or even we are now seeing home offices coming up a lot, for them, this has already started happening. You have home automation system as a package that you can order from e-commerce websites and you can go ahead with them.
So,
I think Rohit is absolutely right. And yes, to your question, we will very soon see all these things coming on Amazon and you can just go ahead and procure it. In the residential space, it must have started already being there out in the market. But offices are they're a little complex. You need to customize a solution for them. And how secure is the data? Is something that you're getting online on the shelf, is it secure enough? Does it address your data security needs? And does it meet your needs end to end is something which one has to think about.
Very good point brought by her in terms of data security that you're mentioning. Even there, this whole piece of standardization is required. So we are right. So ISO, IEC norms, which are there, globally available. It's important that in India we also start adopting the same. I think one such initiative, but also it's a bigger level one. I mean, we're talking about different context here, but 1 year back, Central Electricity Authority, CEA, did publish guidelines for power sector in terms of the kind of cybersecurity norms that they can follow for that. But that's a bigger picture. I'm just saying that a similar analogy can be drawn for, let's say, an inbuilt security norm compliance in products, in solutions, hardware or software, which can help in data privacy related aspects as well. So again, standardization is something that will help in that case very much.
thank you. Dr. Muthukrishnan, we talked about offices and residences which are relatively simpler establishment compared to airport, right? So can you give us some perspective on energy management systems that GMR or airports in general use? Is it in-house? How difficult it is to install that? And is there a kind of move towards standardization? Like we saw how data is collected and analyzed by AI. So is there a kind of a industry-wide standardization effort, say in airports, in terms of collection, usage, and reporting?
Okay. So as such, airport, yes, it's a very complex, I can say, because the usage of energy happens at multifold and at multiple points. And it is not at one place just to establish a control. So what we have done is we have channelized our energy management systems in a manner where we really establish a control by means of automation, by means of establishing a manual control process, and where are the areas one can have a kind of data-oriented control systems. So that kind of analysis we did. For example, a terminal, so whether in terms of lighting or HVAC system or in terms of electromechanical devices, so all are connected into a kind of building management system, which has energy component to it, and it has done its own controls. Beyond that, we have a system of escalations. If there is a kind of overshoot in terms of energy demand, so it is being addressed by people, or if some kind of control in terms of temperature or lux level needs to be established, we have a testing option, so we can able to feed it, so the system takes care of the entire area. So for example, I will tell you how the terminal operates. So terminal, there are multiple levels. There are 5 levels to 6 levels of floors. At one level we call it as departure, one level we call it as arrival, another level we call it as some kind of food court. So each level, the demand is different. If I go with the departure level, the temperature will be different. If I go to arrival level, so the temperature demand is different. Lux levels will be different. The demand of energy is different. So it is all pre-calculated, pre-fed, but it controlled by means of energy management system. As a first intervention, it is more automated. Beyond that, we have a system in place. We have a kind of monitoring programs, as well as data collection programs. It is being analyzed and monitored by multiple level of executives. So this is what we do at airport. As part of integration, yes, when I call it as Terminal 1, Terminal 2, or Terminal 3, or various parcel of airports, it is all getting integrated. So we have integrated management system for energy and its control. So more or less, finally, it is reached to the SAP, which is of data-driven, which gives an opportunity for monitor beyond what is happening at the workplace. So multiple level of intervention we have. Yes, ultimately it is needed. The integrated management of energy sources is needed. And all the airports, like our airports, we focus on energy conservation, energy efficiency. Without that, I can say that you cannot do it at this big complex of multiple demands of energy loads. So energy management system is a very important tool, and with that we cannot achieve performance. In all our airports, we have an integrated system connected with the building management system, which helps us to take a decision in terms of enhanced performance of efficiency.
Is there a standardization, say, across airports run by different agencies in terms of EIS or how data is used, or everybody's trying to, start from the first principle and reinvent the things?
Yeah, so far standardization in terms of approach is there. Maybe it may be a multiple product. Okay, so there are multiple products in the market, but the approach and intent, it is standardized. So they all know that, for example, if I go for a building a new airport, I know what I needed because I have an experience of various other airports, how they are doing it, how they are getting data, how they are getting controlled, how they are being monitored. So those prerequisites are being placed as a basic requirement. We call it as employer's requirement for every development. So this kind of standardization is already, maybe the product may not be same, but the intent, objective, or I can say the system overall, it is standardized.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one point that Dr. Muthukrishnan brought in is the intent, right? So I would want to understand from each one of you about the intent of collecting data, right? So one intent that everybody in this room is familiar with is operational efficiency, saving money, meeting the business bottom line, right? Beyond this, say Umit, in the real estate sector, what other role data plays, like in terms of, say, meeting some climate goals or ESG compliance or anything else? So do you see other roles of data in, say, real estate sector beyond operational efficiency?
Data is key. I mean, data is key, and like one of my fellow panelists, I think Rohit, you mentioned, it has to make sense. It has to be coming out, it has to be collected, compiled, and then make sense. It should be meaningful for the senior leaders to make a decision and do course correction if required.
No, I'm saying beyond, say, the financial benefits to the organization, are there other users of the data?
The
like
ESG goals, the climate goals is another reason. So in my domain, in my shoe, that is my primary driver. For me, the strategic driver is not saving the cost for the client, but it is essentially to enhance energy performance for them, and which is why it is important to understand what is the data, how is it being collected, how is it performing, and then take measures in order to correct the performance, enhance the performance of energy solutions within the organization. So for ESG compliance reporting, 25% of your energy comprises of, it represents 25% of your operational footprint. If that's the amount that's the percentage that we're talking about, 1/4% of your entire office footprint, then one can only just imagine how much carbon reduction can be achieved by just correcting that energy performance.
Thanks. Rohit, what other use cases of data beyond financial performance make sense to your client, or they come to you to say, right, I need to save money, but I also need to do ABC. So what are the other demands from data that your clients would normally have?
So I can give a broader perspective on this, let's say, because since Umit also mentioned about the ESG aspect. So ESG, if we talk about that, E is one part of it. We also have the social and governance aspect. So one is, of course, the whole, improving the bottom line, cost savings and everything. When you're in public domain, putting out data transparently on a regular level, and you're telling the world this is what your ambition is, and this is the progress that you're making every month or every quarter, and then you're putting it out, it plays out on your brand piece as well. So today you have companies who are declaring every month or every quarter how they are performing on the ESG metric. It can be environment, which is mostly focused on energy. It can be other resources as well, water or any other as well, plus some social sustainability related initiatives. So there is this whole piece of brand promotion that's also related with the same. If you're performing well, it gives you from an investor point of view as well, and from a point of view of the whole world seeing you as a brand, it raises that brand loyalty as well. So this is like other than money, if I talk about, because of course operational savings, financial savings is something which is common across. So it will be a point. But then these are also things where you can so ESG reporting, for example, in India, we now have the mandate for top 1,000 listed companies to disclose their ESG metric or ESG performance, which is by the name of BRS, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. So I think this is, again, another way of putting it out in front of the world, how we are performing on these metric, and how it can, and that really improves your, of course, if you are taking corrective actions accordingly, along with tracking and measurement, it also improves your, the whole piece of brand that you associate, that people associate with the company. So this is another advantage besides cost savings that an organization can avail.
Thanks, Rich.
Just to add there, Saket, another one is the competitive edge that they get. They want to be there in the market. So I kind of break it into a sunrise industry and a sunset industry. So there are industries who are very rigid organizations. They don't want to make any change because it's capital investment also that it warrants. So they don't want to do it. But then if they're not boarding the bus now, then they'll be left behind, because then there is another industry that's coming up parallelly, which is sunrise, and that's going to take their space. So competitive edge in the market is something which they are really looking forward to be there.
Thanks. So in your enterprise, beyond operational efficiency, do you use data for, say, some climate-related goal setting or monitoring, and does competitive edge in terms of sustainability matter in the airport field? That is one part of the question. And second is some of the exciting benchmarks that I just shared. So having industry level benchmarks are really helpful to position where you are. So can you share your views on the need of such benchmarks, and where do you see yourself with respect to those benchmarks?
Okay. See, I can say that airport in terms of climate actions with the data, we are all very matured. In India, all the airports have taken climate conscious attempt, and many airports have got certified in terms of various level, including private airports and government operated airports. And their commitment is being responsible, yes. Going beyond ESG is the main activity for us, because climate action is going beyond ESG. So today what everyone talks about ESG is focusing on investors' view as well as the client views, and make sure that investors and clients are more or less aligned and doing right way of business. So this is, I see it as a business to business. But if you see climate change is a little beyond ESG. And this parameter is part of ESG, I agree. But we, from airport community, committed already to become carbon neutral. Many airports have achieved carbon neutrality. For example, Delhi Airport, we achieved in 2016 as a carbon neutral airport, first airport in Asia Pacific. And there's a program called Airport Carbon Accreditation, what Madam given some brief about it. So this program guides as well as gives a kind of framework for United Nations, how airports can become carbon neutral, or how airports can become climate oriented or climate aligned airports in alignment with the Paris agreements. For example, this standard, what I talk about, airport carbon accreditation, it was published somewhere around 2013. Many airports got accredited to those airports. And now recently in 2020, they brought 2 more standard levels, that level called transformation and transition, that helps airport to become more scientifically data data-oriented target set company. For example, today I know how much amount of emission I generate, whether it is direct emission or energy indirect emission or my stakeholder emission, all comes to be a part of neutrality. It means I know my boundary, I work within my boundary. Whereas if I go for the climate objective of 2050 net zero, I should know that what will be my emission load maybe up to 2050. Do I have a target to achieve that net zero in between? So this new two frameworks, which we call it as transformation and transition, which helps airport to evaluate yourself, quantify yourself, get the mitigation plans in place, address it now. So in the similar manner, the Delhi airport recently we certified into level 4+, that is the transition company, the first airport in Asia Pacific region. So we have established ourselves as a net zero committed company. So our target is by 2030, we will be having net zero achieved. We have a program in place. So one of the program is, going towards more energy efficient and energy conservation factor. And second initiative is completely transition from the energy source what we have to a renewable energy source, on-site and off-site energy usage. The third important area is build ourselves a kind of green transportation program for the IGA ecosystem. And the fourth one is operational excellence. So wherein, like one of the question came during the discussion is how the aircrafts are being operated. Is it following the timeline? Yes, all the aircrafts which operate at airports are monitored. The emission of each aircraft is being estimated, counted, and we have a set target for every aircraft. So the timings are measured. For example, as an airport operator, I have a system up to 3,000 feet. I know that how the profile of aircraft is coming down, where it's touched down, where it moves and how it gets parked. So all emission loads we get able to establish. And we also know the timing. For example, if the approach happens 2 minutes, taxiing 5 minutes, the chokes on maybe 2-3 minutes. So all the timings is established. If I want to establish my efficiency, I calculate only on timing. So we call it as landing and takeoff efficiency. There is a fuel efficiency of each aircraft as well as landing and takeoff timing as a parameter. When I reduce that landing and takeoff timing, so I reduce the consumption of fuel. So all level we are working on it. So I can say that all this data, including energy data, which helps in climate action. So broadly, I have one point to say. If I see airport, it contributes to 2% of global CO2 emission. Whereas the energy as a factor, if I isolate and see my stakeholders' emission, the energy is a very large chunk. I can say around 90% of emission will come from airport because of energy. So what we have done is to bring down that energy, 90%, we shifted ourselves towards renewable energy. So we have reduced significant amount of emission load. We started operating somewhere around 4.5 kg per pax. We reached even to 0.3 kg per pax. Okay. Now because of limitation in renewable energy related concerns, now currently we are somewhere around 0.7 kg per pax. Almost I can say 90% of emission got reduced because of various intervention at airport. We are very conscious on climate as well as ESG and on energy.
Thank you. That's very impressive. Can you also comment on the need and the benefit of industry level benchmarks like we saw?
Yeah, see.
Because airport as a sector has done this, but many other sectors have not yet started the journey. So.
Yes. See, I should appreciate the ministry first to bring this standardization as well as Airport Authority of India and various airport developers in India to bring this benchmark as a competitive edge, what she said. So when I said the airport got certified into carbon neutrality in 2016, 17-18, many airports in India got certified into carbon neutrality. Now when we got level 4+ transition certificate, many airports in the Asia Pacific regions are trying to get through that certification. So it means it is a benchmark, I can say, that we establish, and that makes others or other airports to becoming very competitive. So that is just one part of message. Second part of message is now ministry recently took up this 3 important area. One, net zero target. It has taken data from all the airports and it has asked for what is your target, when you will achieve. And ministry is relatively following up that and reviews as a part of overall efficiency of airport in terms of net zero target. Second, it has also asked for all energy related information as well as the target for becoming completely renewable energy oriented airport. So this is also another important target. So benchmarking happens like what we discussed earlier for airport in terms of kilowatt per passenger or kilowatt per square feet. So these 2 or 3 factors in terms of energy we do it, but overall the benchmark in terms of kilowatt hour per passenger or kg emission per passenger is a 2 important key indicator which is being followed across, and that is the indicator globally used. Like madam said, ACI data. So what we follow similar approach so that we can able to establish ourselves how far we are with international competitor, how far we are within India, how far we are within the size of our airport. Like the ACI is also divided our benchmark into various size, 0 to 6 million, 6 to 12 million, and then 12 to 30 million and 30 million above. It means it represents that the benchmark will also change according to the nature of that operational capacity of the airport, as well as we can able to establish the question asked, the region where it belongs to. So Asia Pacific, there is a benchmark. If you go to Europe, there is another benchmark. But you cannot easily compare, but you can able to establish the correlation, a kind of what kind of efficiency measure they are doing, what kind of opportunity we can do here. Similarly, it's vice versa. So they will also understand if India can do this benchmark. When I said we are the Asia Pacific first airport, globally we are the second airport. So it means we have established a benchmark globally as an Indian airport to get first. So this kind of benchmark makes an opportunity for others to learn. Okay, what airport is doing, how they are attaining emission. So similarly, I can say that it should start from ministry. Even though the developer operators are one part of it, they always do the competitive factors and make sure that they are become more responsible. It is beyond these 2 components. The ministry, government also should establish certain target for them so that it goes hand on hand and our objective is met.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in terms of benchmark, I cannot say how important it is. The building industry has taken a step about a decade ago on this benchmarking with Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Airports are there right now. So I hope to see many more sectors creating their own internal benchmarks. Before I ask my last round of questions, I would like to open to the floor for a Q&A. So we can take few questions from the floor. So very briefly, just introduce yourself and say who the question is directed to.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon. I am Anmol Mathur and I am a building physics energy efficiency consultant. So the question is to the panel, I mean whoever wishes to answer may answer that. One of the points that was raised was, very catching to me, that can this EMS or, energy management systems, energy efficiency systems be sold on Flipkart, Amazon and all of those platforms, which means that no proprietary, a lot of standardization. But what we see today in the market, even, as consultants, when we talk to our clients, what they feel is that, once the hardware is purchased, you're sort of, stuck to that same enterprise for the solution. And right now in the market, there are so many different options, both in terms of hardware, in terms of analytics, in terms of controls for operational efficiency, but they all are not speaking with each other. There is a lot of friction in between what kind of actuators you have, what kind of sensors you have, what kind of data analytics tools or platforms are there. Is that something that is even possible, or is it something that should always be a one shelf solution, like you have to remain with one service provider? Is that something that in the future, do you see that bridging happening, or is it not needed? That's what I'm trying to understand.
So, yeah, thanks for the question. Again, just to give a slight update. So again, there are technologies available which are open in terms of standardization, in terms of that you can have other open instrumentations, or let's say, like you said, actuators or valves. You can integrate that hardware with a software as well. So there are open standard protocols which are there. The whole point here becomes that, okay, while it is open, is it secure? So that's where, again, the work is going on. Again, if I talk from Schneider's perspective, yes, the software and the hardware that we are putting in the market are all open standard solutions. So you can, any other, let's say, technology vendor, if they are also having an open protocol, you can integrate it with the software that we have. And with that, we, at least in our case, we are bringing that with certain security norms as well. So if the one that you are integrating is also having that security norm in that case, then your whole system becomes a secure system in that point of view. But what you're saying is completely right. Yes, we need, in order to make this whole thing very standardized, we need open protocols, solutions which are open, and they can integrate solutions from various platforms or various makes or various brands on a single piece. So again, from my own perspective, we are doing that. I think there are some other companies also which are coming up with the same thing now, but there are certain companies which are, for which it's true that if you have purchased their hardware, then you have to take their software only, otherwise it won't work. So there are some proprietary aspects also there. But in future, yes, if we want to move towards, let's say, selling an EMS on Amazon, it has to be something that talks and integrates with various other devices as well, but in a secure system. So you need that standardization, which is open, but still standard from a security point of view.
Thank you, Rohit. So that's an extremely important thing. How do hardware, software, and different proprietary things talk to each other so that there's no lock-in, right? And that's a big concern in the market out there.
Amol, such tools may have the ability to, integrate with another system that is already installed, deployed in the organization, but 100% integration is still not possible. Nobody in the market offers that. For example, if you're consuming energy from the grid, integration with the grid is not possible. Somebody still has to sit and manually feed into what was the energy consumption, how much was your bill per month and all that, and then arrive at the data quality.
Any other question from the floor? All right. So my last set of questions, and then we will wrap up the session. So we'll start with Amit again. So those who want to embark on this journey of setting up energy management system in their enterprise, what are some of the key challenges that you think they will face, and what is your piece of advice or do's and don'ts, when they make this pitch to their board or their clients to do something like this? And you can just share some of the experience you may have had in your own personal capacity.
Sorry, so you want somebody who wants to embark into this
So
for a career, or?
I have a facility
Okay.
without an EMS right now,
Ah.
right? And I want to go and convince first my board that I need this EMS.
I think when we talk about E, S, and G, E is something environmental issues which is addressed. I mean, the climate action is something, and having such solutions, energy management and all takes care of that. The G part, the governance. So all conscious organizations now have in their board of directors, so it's a top-down approach that they're following. So they already have that, and there's a mandate to have solutions. If they have aligned to, let's say, SBTI or a likewise body, CDP rating and all that, then there is definitely a need to have a strategic roadmap. And if you need to have a strategic roadmap, then there is no convincing required then. Then it is coming from top down. and you just have to go to the market and explore what are the solutions available and deploy the best suitable one for yourself.
Thank you. Rohit?
So yeah, I think focusing on, okay, so I'll give two perspectives here. One is the overall ESG piece if we talk about. I think three things I would say in order to embark on the journey and make it successful as well. First thing, track and measure all the aspects that you have. So once you have made a strategy in terms of this is your objective, this is your ambition, you need to track and measure it constantly in terms of where you are. That's the first thing. And of course, the whole transparency in that tracking and measurement aspect. Second is have your, as Umit was rightly mentioning, have your top management on board. Your top management, your CEO, your CFO should be declaring that along with your financial results every quarter, every half year, every third quarter, or full year in that way. Third is okay, so on the previous point, while of course this is something which relates to everyone in terms of top floor to shop floor, but it has to be driven from a top to bottom level. And third is make people accountable for its success. So if there is someone who can do something about it, that person needs to be accountable. Maybe throw in some incentive if you want to, like for example, in case of our company, there is a portion of variable pay in our salaries that is tied with the ESG performance of our company. So if the company is performing well on ESG, then only we get that particular variable pay in our compensation. So that's something where you're making people accountable for the success of the whole program. Now coming just specifically, let's say talk about energy management piece here. Again, I can give you an example from our own experience. We run a program, energy management program, for Schneider Electric's own facilities, our factories and buildings in India. As part of that program, the whole idea that we had formed was, firstly, equip each facility with IoT-enabled, IT-enabled measurement, monitoring, and analysis solutions. Then setting targets for each facility in terms of how much they want to, like how much energy reduction they should be doing in the period of 3 years. Every 3 years, the target and the baseline is revised for the facilities, for the group in that way. And of course, it's measured and monitored on a regular basis, on a real-time basis, because it's all happening through the software. And while the analysis is happening, it's happening through the standard IP/MVP measurement and verification protocols, so that the accuracy of the results, the efficiency improvement that you're showing, is very much aligned with what standard or global benchmark is. Just to give you some idea of the results, in the last 10 years, this has been the approach for our energy-intensive factories or facilities in India. And in the last 10 years, we have kind of doubled our energy productivity, which is equivalent to saving some more than 20 crores in energy cost and approximately 30,000 tons in CO2 emissions avoidance. So this is something as a program we are running, and it's revised every 3 years in terms of target, in terms of baseline, and that keeps the facility, keeps the teams on their toes to constantly look around for measures to improve the performance in terms of energy. So and this can apply in any form. This has been done from an energy management point of view. It can be there for the overall aspect of ESG as well. But the concept remains like this in that way.
Thank you. Your advice to maybe ministry on what next they should do for the airport sector, and maybe to other sectors if they want to take the next step forward.
See, first question, since you asked a different one, I'll just answer to it. If anyone want to embark journey on energy efficiency, for me, a very simple, have a clear proposal with you, get it budgeted, because as a user, this is what we see it, get it budgeted and approved by your senior management, have a competent team with a target. So all will sail through. So this we miss it at many times. Like now we are in March, say February, so our AOP normally starts in March. From April, the overall actual operating plan will start. So this is a time if someone wants to go for energy efficiency or enhancing some kind of system-oriented energy management, try to make sure your proposal is having a complete information in terms of what are the benefits, what kind of tools and techniques it will employ, what kind of targets, when it will get implemented, and who will be the team member, everything. If you have it as a proposal, just put it in your AOP annual operating plan, get it approved. Once it is approved, you have complete 12 months. You can do it the way what you wanted. So this, many people, we miss it, including me, sometime, unless otherwise you project it in that particular area of AOP planning, you will miss it the entire year. So ultimately, business knows, your senior management knows what are the benefits of energy conservation, energy efficiency. Definitely your proposal will get approved. It's a matter of time as well as matter of their further approvals from the senior management system. So I think this is what the message I wanted to pass it to people. If you want to embark on this journey, make sure have a complete clear proposal with you, benefits with you, a team incorporate in the proposal, get it approved in your operating plan. So this is what I can say for the team, sir. In terms of ministry is already doing it. They can refer Civil Aviation Ministry how they are performing. They can try to have a kind of interministerial discussion. It's a good way that we can also engage with them. They can also engage with us. It will be a very good knowledge sharing opportunity for both the ministries in India.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody on the dais, for sharing their views. Over to you, Akash. Can we have a round of applause for the...
Thank you, Saket, Umit, Rohit, Mr. Muthukrishnan, thank you very much. Such an interesting conversation. It can sort of keep going on, but just in the interest of time, we'll have to truncate it. Should you have any questions, please feel free to take it up with them during tea at the end of the valedictory. For now, we would want to request Mr. Jayanta Chaudhary to kindly come up on stage. He's Director Marketing at AEEE, to kindly facilitate our panelists and session chair. So.